Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Spider-Man Far From Home 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review video. Now today we are going to be taking a look at Mysterio's Iron Man illusion, aka Zombie Iron Man. So yeah, I'm pretty darn hype to get this guy out here. Now I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They have 12-month installment plans and a points-based reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon, plus the join button for more info on Justin's Collection Plus, the channel membership. What we are going to do now though is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. Here of course we have the box art, and I really like it. It fits right in alongside the rest of the figures in the line. Now the box itself is rather thick and chunky. I'm pretty sure the diorama display base has something to do with it. Up front we do have Mysterio's dome with Zombie Iron Man reaching through, plus this rainbow effect for the window. Spider-Man Far From Home up top, Mysterio's Iron Man illusion down below, same thing on the side of the box, then all of the relevant legal info plus a Spidey logo on the back. Now if you do lift off the top cover, you do get a much better look at Zombie Iron Man. I'm pretty sure that's the figure himself. If you flip open the front cover, number one, you get a sneak preview of the figure, but you also can see Mysterio, who is of course conjuring up this Iron Man. Now we're not really here to dissect the packaging, we're more here to check out Iron Man himself. Now Hot Toys has slowly but surely been working their way through the ranks of Marvel's zombies. We have Dead Strange coming up, we've already got Zombie Deadpool, and now we have Zombie Iron Man. First in-hand impressions though are relatively positive. There is a ton to look at here. What we are going to do now though is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Here we have all the parts and pieces. Starting off with the diorama style display base first. You all know, I love my diorama bases. This one though, might just be one of my new favourites. Up top, you've got this sort of fresh earth section where Iron Man would be crawling out of, and it is a little bit glossy and a nice deep green. You also have a ton of texture on the rockwork, some moss, and some dry brushing on the surface. The smoke is suitably green, very Mysterio. And you have Tony Stark's tombstone up the back with a bunch of moss on the surface. You also have some of this glitching effect, which does kind of blend into these awful clamshell plastic effect pieces. Now they aren't permanently attached, so in my display I will be removing every single one of them. It just cheapens the entire look and feel. You do have this very rough edge around the entire thing, and they are super flimsy. Up top, you do have a dynamic flight pole and a spring-loaded waist clamp. Now, the thing that's projecting this entire illusion is this mini drone right here. He does have a little holographic projection effect, which technically is removable, and so too is the drone himself. Now, for me, I'm absolutely going to leave that there, because it kind of just makes sense. On the underside, you do have a battery compartment and a switch, on 1 and on 2. If you flick it to on 1, the lights are permanently enabled. This looks really cool, but I still wish there was an option for an AC adapter. There is a really nice green light in the center, some green lights around the stairs, and of course all the smoke is illuminated. If you flick it to the other side for on 2, the lights have a breathing effect. They do pulsate on and off, trust me. In person, it doesn't flicker anywhere near as much as it does on camera. But for now, having the lights on is a really cool effect. You do also get more clamshell plastic, this time for the figure himself. These are meant to actually hook onto him with these various pieces that you have to fold in yourself. There aren't any magnets, there aren't any pegs. they simply hook around the figure. At the very least, they are nicely sculpted with that glitching texture on the surface and a bunch of dots. But for me, yeah, I'm absolutely going to omit these in the display, but don't worry, we will try them on him a little bit later. In addition to the hands with the articulated fingers that he comes wearing out of the box, you also get some repulsor blasting hands. Now, this could technically be because he was flying out of his grave in the movie, or you could use it as though he was actually blasting people. There is a ton of pitting on the surface, there's dirt and grime, they look absolutely filthy. And that means they should blend in really nicely with the rest of the figure. What we are going to do now, though, speaking of the figure, is get Iron Man himself out here and take a closer look. Here we have him standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. If you'd told me when I first started collecting that I would be standing here today reviewing a zombie Iron Man figure and being genuinely excited about it, I would have told you, yeah, you're dreaming. But here we are, and there he is, and yes, he looks incredible. The paint applications, the sculpt work, and the fact that you can't really pose him badly. If you have his limbs going in all kinds of funky directions, that just adds to the zombie creep factor. It works in this figure's favor. Plus, he does have those illusion pieces, those holographic effects. We will talk about those a little bit later. And he does have some LEDs, which you can currently see on. What we are going to do now, though, is take him off the turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. Here we have him up close and personal, and the first word that comes to mind is wow. There is so much to look at here. Starting off with the LEDs first, his right eye is fully illuminated. So too is his arc reactor and the mini arc reactors dotted around his chest. Now, unfortunately, none of the other mini arc reactors light up around the rest of the suit, but seeing as the sculpt is as complex as it is, I personally totally understand. Now, moving on to the helmet, it is absolutely nasty. You do have one side that's been completely ripped away, exposing this really creepy Tony Stark skull. You do have a sunken-in socket for his eye, and he is missing a couple of his pearly whites. Although they're not really pearly white anymore. I do like the color of the skull, it's not a crisp white. It's kind of this decaying grey colour. You do have multiple washes on the surface, the metal is all nicely crumpled, plus you do have some exposed mesh detail up top. Plus, the top of the helmet is also really nicely dented. Now, as far as I'm aware, there is no die-cast here, this guy is entirely plastic. And that makes sense because all of this sculpt work I don't think would have actually worked with die-cast panels. Now, around the back you do have some more mesh that's kind of been exposed as this panel has been ripped away, and the metallic silver and gold sections are still suitably shiny, but the pitting and dirt and grime on the surface make them look absolutely filthy. Now, the design from head to toe is asymmetrical. You do have different exposed detail on one side as opposed to the other. Up top, you've got some more tech detail, and it is different once again on either side, plus the same thing can be said for the shoulder pads. I really like this one, it actually looks like filthy and rusted metal. Coming down to the forearms, there are multiple chunks that have been ripped away, plus you do have this little panel on a proper posable wire. It just adds to the creep factor as some of his pieces are still dangling off him as he's walking around and haunting Spidey. You also have multiple big gaping holes up here for the abdomen. Unfortunately, that does mean you are going to be limited with articulation, but at the same time, it still moves a lot more than I was expecting. Coming down to the legs, asymmetrical as you would expect, This panel sticks up a lot higher than this one does, and the wiring detail is different from either side. You've got crumpled in red pieces of armor, plus this piece that is dangling off a wire, so that means once again, you can pose it. Coming down to his legs, this might just be one of my favorite details. As you can see, this leg is very skinny. Now, in reality, you probably wouldn't be able to fit a human leg inside the suit, so it kind of is a little bit weird to see. But at the same time, for a creepy skeletal zombie Iron Man, yeah, I love that detail. And once again, some exposed mesh on the back. And different panels are missing from either side. I know I have said asymmetrical probably too many times, but that's probably the best way I can describe this guy. Now you may be thinking, Justin, what gives? Why the snap transition? You didn't actually change anything, and yes, you're right, at least for the upper torso. Coming down to the legs, I have now attached these absolutely disgraceful clear plastic clamshell pieces. And I use the word attached very loosely. Just like these pieces sit on the body, if you simply touch them, they become detached very easily. The way you actually attach them is you fold these little clips and pieces in, then peg them into the body, or simply hook them over these panels. This, to me, is an insult. Hot Toys, this figure is absolutely incredible. You really expect us to use these cheap and nasty panels? It basically ruins the entire look. Not because the idea is bad, it absolutely isn't. Having these holographic pieces is a great idea, but you do have to cast them out of proper, thick plastic. Maybe even have magnets that can attach to the various panels, because folding in some clips and sitting them on these armor plates, yeah, for me, that just doesn't work, and it screams cheap. Now for a quick side-by-side zombie comparison, here we have Deadpool on the right and Iron Man on the left. As you can see, Iron Man is the taller of the two, which absolutely works for me. Whereas Deadpool is the more stylized one. He has this more cartoony aesthetic. They still could work together in the same display, but at the end of the day, it's all down to personal preference. Next up, here we have upgraded suit Spidey, and he too is shorter than zombie Tony. He was when Tony was alive in the Iron Man suit, so it makes sense that he is shorter here as well. Technically, I know this isn't the real Iron Man, it's just an illusion, a projection. Therefore, he can be a little bit taller if that's what Mysterio wanted him to be. In the display, for me, yeah, this absolutely is going to work. Lastly, here we have the Mark 47. The reason I went with him over the 46 for this comparison is, number one, this was the last suit Tony was wearing in a Spidey film, and number two, I don't get to bring him out very often. As you can see, they are almost the exact same height. Now, I don't know if the internal structure, the skeleton, if you will, which is very on brand for Zombie Iron Man, is shared between these two figures. But at the end of the day, having a fully decayed version of Tony next to a fully intact version, yeah, I really like that idea for the display. Just going over articulation. Now, bear in mind, this is my personal copy of the figure, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm sure when you get yours in hand, you can push the joints slightly further than I am willing to go. Now, starting off with the head sculpt, it is on a ball joint at the base of the neck, another at the base of the head, but that joint also swivels back. Looking up to there, looking forward to there, swivel and pivot side to side. The arms will go up to there, although they can be extended out and go up just that little bit further. They will go forward and back, butterfly joint at the shoulder that also hinges up and down. The shoulder pad is articulated, so it should get out of your way. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow that does get you slightly past 90, and then of course a ball joint for the wrist peg. You do have a double ball joint up here at the torso, crunching forward and back, swivel and pivot side to side. The legs will go forward to there, although they can be dropped down to go forward slightly further. Swivel at the upper thigh, double bend at the knee on ratchets, a hinge and swivel for pivot and forward and back motion for the ankle, plus toe articulation. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing isn't the fact that they've used that awful clamshell style plastic for the display base effects, it's that they use that exact same awful plastic for the effect pieces that go on Iron Man. Now, Hot Toys, let me get this straight. You expect collectors to spend hundreds of dollars on your latest Iron Man figure, but you can't even be bothered molding these out of proper plastic. You've given us these, we have to fold the little tabs and slot them in place. For me, yeah, I personally am not very happy. Now you might say, well, the effect is good, but at the same time, when you're handling the figure and posing him, you will be interacting with these pieces, and they bring down the overall high quality feel of the entire figure. The second annoying thing, and this is not a big deal for me, but I understand if it is for you. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the Mark 46. All of the mini arc reactors for the upper torso are illuminated, but not the ones anywhere else. Now you could say, this is not a real Iron Man, it's an illusion, and yes, I understand. But at the same time, if you are having some of them lit up, I do think they all should also light up. The third annoying thing is that down here for the hip skirt area, the engineering is slightly more simplified. No longer do these pieces move up and out, so that means when you go to move the legs, they will collide with this panel right here. Now you can extend the leg down, but unfortunately, doesn't really help you a ton, it's still going to collide. The first cool thing is that all of these panels that are just dangling off him are actually on fully articulated wires. That means you can pose them around depending on where you want them to be. The second cool thing is of course the diorama display base. I absolutely love it. But also, how you can have Iron Man interact with it. I have removed his legs, and now it literally looks like he is crawling out of his own grave. Very dark, but also very fitting for Zombie Iron Man. The third cool thing is that even though the sculpt is absolutely insane with chunks taken out of the armor and a ton of detail, he still retains a decent, if not slightly more limited version of the typical die-cast Iron Man range of motion. Just wrapping up on the Zombie Iron Man from Hot Toys, aka Mysterio's Illusion Iron Man from Spider-Man Far From Home. Going into this, I was really excited. It's not often that you get a figure as unique as this guy is, and executed to such a high standard. But in saying that, he's not perfect. Let's talk about the bad stuff first. Everything to do with the figure is flawless, at least in my opinion. But everything else isn't. The display base looks really good, I love the LEDs, but it's kind of ruined by those clamshell plastic pieces. Now you can omit them entirely, which is absolutely what I'm going to do in my display. Plus, there are even more clamshell pieces that Hot Toys want you to put onto this masterpiece. Why? I'm not entirely sure. I think they, number one, detract from the overall look, and make him feel very cheap. Hot Toys, I understand what you were trying to do. There is a lot of brand new sculpting and tooling here. You wanted to save money on the effect pieces, but please, don't do that. Going forward, include magnetic, hard, plastic sculpted pieces that can attach to the figure. It would have worked far better and made the entire thing feel like one super high quality piece. If you forget all of those clear plastic clamshell pieces, which I absolutely am going to do, then yes, this figure is a triumph. It might just be one of my favorite Iron Man figures to date. And that's saying something, because I'm not usually a fan of zombie and horror stuff, but because this guy is as detailed, as well sculpted, and as immaculately painted as he is, yeah, he has definitely won me over. I understand if it's not going to be for everyone, but this guy well and truly is right up my alley. Now, I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They have 12-month installment plans and a points-based reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon, plus the join button for more info on Justin's Collection Plus. if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.